So, hi there. Today, we're going to take a look at how our power-savvy AI helps us read these complicated dashboards so we can get a bit more clarity here. The dashboard, or rather the measuring devices for the dashboard, are located in a 1 megawatt PV plant near Salzwedel in the Altmark region, right here. 1,000 kilowatts of feed-in power from A. I've installed the Rogowski coils up here. PV system on hall roof 1 through 8. One transformer, 1,000 kVA. And here we're doing the current measurement. The device. There's the measuring device, the ammonio. And here, the mounting is initially done with the magnetic tips, and later Max installed it here permanently. That's what it looks like on site, and now let's continue with the video. Measured are the active power, maximum value, current value, the grid voltage present on the three phases, maximum value, average value, the current value, and the important power factor, cos phi, of this system. Systems, since there are several inverters, always at 1 in the partial load range. Wonderful. Here, the reactive power drifts apart a bit. That has to do with the current and voltage ratios. And we also check the conductor currents to see if they are symmetrical. We really have to zoom in deeply to spot any differences there. So, the system is running wonderfully. There are very few problems, except with the mobile network operator we're using. So as we can see, it's super linear. Everything is fine here. And now we're going to transfer the values to our current enabled AI, and then we'll observe over the next hours and days what the report, the standard report, looks like at first. For this, I'll copy the URL from the current enabled diary dashboard. Then I go into the Stromfee.AI and start a new analysis. To do this, we'll create a customer. We already have one, it's here. That's a 1 megawatt solar field. Now we enter the URL here and, for now, use the standard prompt. We have several prompts here. First, we enter the time interval in which the AI analyses should take place, so starting from today. 10:18 a.m. Server time is 8:18 a.m. So, let's start at 8:30 a.m., 8:35 a.m., and let the whole thing run until November. All right. We'll leave the investigation interval at 10 minutes for the beginning, for the first prompt runs. Now we specify that it's a photovoltaic system. We're measuring with an ammonio. We want the output language to be German. We also want to market the values on Instagram, so we have to specify the language again and say once more for marketing, it is a photovoltaic system. Please present the results in German, and we will also generate an image with each run using Leonardo. For that, we'll go into Leonardo and get the appropriate prompt. Here we have the image collection, and then we'll see where we have a photovoltaic system. That would be, for example, here or here. Yes. We could also use the young lady here. Yes, PV battery reports. Then let's take a look at what we can use here that's a bit more serious. Business attire would be appropriate. Electricity battery report. Let's take that. This one, we can later develop a great talking avatar from it. Then we'll have the lady here develop the avatar later, put the text in here, and we're already done. Now we can say this needs to be a run-through. So it starts at 8:21 a.m. I'll set it a bit earlier so we can see the results here. 8:25 a.m. That way it goes a bit faster. Set. Here's the URL. Here's the interval, and the system is running, and now we can actively monitor jobs to see when the device up here starts. That's job ID 43. That's it for now. So, as I can see, 3 minutes have passed. The AI has completed the first analysis. There should be a result now. Let's take a look at it now. The prompt was the standard prompt. Where is it? There's the result. Patterns and anomalies in the PV system. The maximum output, the current output, the system is not using its full capacity. Of course, it's not due to efficiency, but because of the weather. That's why it would make sense to include the weather data here. And the solar radiation, as I've mentioned several times before, it has beautifully analyzed the grid voltage, analyzed the power factor, beautifully the reactive power, the line current. So, just great. Now, every 10 minutes there would be a result here, and let's take another look at Leonardo to see what interesting picture he's created in this first run. It's not here yet. We'll have to wait a moment. All right. There it is. That's the photo from which we can then develop the avatar. She will then read this report to us in the next steps. That's right. All the data is temporarily stored at Gemini. Let's take a look at that now. Here's Gemini, and we're pulling up the system with the 1MW. Let's see where it is here. Solar radiation. Last test. We need to scroll further back. 1MW solar field. There it is. There it is. We've already done several runs here, and this is the last one. We'll use that for further automation. And here we can see the link to the photo that we can continue to use. Yes, and with that, we have wonderful text here for further processing. And this is, of course, wonderful to demonstrate on such a simple PV system because here there's only one output. The text we get here is already optimized for marketing on social media. Depending on which value I select for which network, TikTok, Twitter, the text for marketing is generated here. So it's well suited for manufacturers of teaching materials and operators of PV systems. Here's the original text that we requested in the prompt. Here you can still see all the settings, And here is the original text that works without the social media channels. This one is for the customer. It has to be for the customer. If you have Gemini, you can get started right here and have it analyzed. We're not going to do that now because we still want to process this further. So about 10 minutes later, the second report arrives. Of course, it looks similar to the first one. However, the AI has already changed the text a little. And in the summary, it then says that the energy measurement data show that it's running well, mostly stable, high performance readiness, ideal power factor values. Mains voltage indicates good infrastructure, reactive power, yes, but it doesn't negatively affect the main power. Exactly what I see here as well. So, wonderful. We're now going to increase the query interval from 10 minutes to 1,440 minutes. I only want this once a day. That's more than enough. One comprehensive report sent directly to me by Google Sheets, just as I previously showed using the powerful AI automation. So, change the sampling interval. We take a look at the tasks, the photovoltaic system, and click on Stop. The task is stopped, and we select Reactivate and now enter the new sampling interval here. Daily. We'll also set a start time, let's say at 9 o'clock server time, and enter everything nicely again so the attributes are correct. This time, everything in German. Take a picture, not a video. We get it from Leonardo and just leave the image prompt as it is. And now we simply say save and reactivate. Done. And then the interval is set to 1,440 minutes. Now we go to make.com, log in there, and check if we've already worked on the 1 megawatt system. Let's take a look here. Yes, here it is. Here it is. We copy the entire process by saying clone from July. Now we're inside the automation. It pulls the data from Google Sheets. The text is revised, sends the text to Telegram, revises the text, and sends the text into the WordPress blog. And now let's take a closer look at that in detail. We need to check if we're in the correct Google Sheets spreadsheet here. That's very important. This is the original. Then we go to the browser. That's us. Solar Field 1, that's what the system is called here. We need to link up with that. 102. We need to link up with that. 102. Yes. Social media. We'll take the text and save it here. Let's open Telegram already. As I can see, he first posted an older entry that he hadn't processed yet. That's why we're letting him work through the Excel table every 30 minutes now, or we can just delete the old results. Yeah, that seems, and let's run through it once. Let's see which result he's working on now. You can link this with Instagram with the video BL3, BL2. Everything your heart desires can be automated here. This way, you generate reports from electronic data. You can also provide an interactive avatar with this knowledge. Then you can ask it about the latest measurement results. So now let's take a look at Telegram, and there we see it. So in your Telegram channel, you receive a report from the system with a photo, if you want, which is always generated automatically. Dear Energy fans, that's the social media text. Our system is doing a great job and we're working hard to keep it that way. AI in photovoltaics transforms electrical measurement data into interactive scenarios that are readable for ordinary people. That was a very simple example with a 1 megawatt system. It can go much deeper, measuring current and voltage, measuring temperatures. More on that later. Thank you for your attention. Everything worked out just fine.